Man like Mark Sullivan, the warrior self. Stay tuned for the thrilling episode. Woo!
A positive mental attitude can clear away all obstacles which stand between you and your major purpose in life.
This is the Snowboard Project featuring Mark Sullivan and the Bead. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project.
Welcome back to the Snowboard Project. I'm Mark Sullivan.
And I'm the Beav. And today's a very special day. We are double digits today.
What do you mean we're double?
It's episode 10.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Happy birthday, Mark.
Thank you. Happy birthday to you, Beav.
Thank you.
It's been a fun road so far.
It has. Yeah, 10 deep. We are a couple weeks into this.
Let's high five on this.
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay.
Episode 10 is number 3 in our 3-part series with U.S. team coach Ricky Bauer.
Yeah.
And today we are learning about, what are we learning about, Mark?
Well, we're learning how to approach learning new tricks. And this is really interesting because Ricky has taught some of the best riders in the world how to learn new tricks and how to approach. Like if you look at like the cutting edge of like half pipe, it's like now it's like doubles. You have to have back-to-back doubles. You have to have like a 12 or a 14 now to even consider making the podium. And so really, how do you make that progression into that cutting edge of tricks, and how do you learn basically how to learn new tricks?
Yeah, I mean that's got to be a difficult thing, and being a coach and knowing when to say the right thing to inspire your athlete to maybe take that chance, or hey, maybe don't take that chance.
Right, exactly. And so he walks us through the process of learning new tricks, the same stuff that like U.S. Olympic team riders do to learn new tricks. So this is pretty cool.
All right, well, should we just go ahead and roll into this?
Yeah, and Ricky knows how to learn new tricks better than I do. That's for sure.
That's right. I saw you trying to learn a trick the other day, and
yeah, I got the chair break down.
Yeah, you do have the chair breakdown. You grabbed it nicely.
Thank you.
Anyways, let's roll into Ricky Bauer, episode number 10, part 3 of our Ricky Bauer series, coming at you right now.
The Snowboard Project.
Ricky Bauer.
Don't forget to support advertising-free snowboarding media at patreon.com. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project.
All right, I'm back. Part 3, Ricky Bauer, head coach of the U.S. halfpipe team. And today, I want to talk about progression and learning tricks. And, first question, Ricky, are there any hacks that are out there for really kind of progressing more rapidly? Are there any shortcuts to learning new tricks? Just on the surface?
I think the best shortcut to learning new tricks is having really good fundamentals of being able to ride your snowboard.
Like what fundamentals? Let's break down those fundamentals. Which are the key skills you need?
I think the key skills you need are your ability to turn, your edging ability, your ability to stand on your board properly, which is something a lot of people never think about. Like, are you bent over at the waist? Are you standing over your front foot? Are you,
so describe that position.
A good body position would be slightly bent knees, making good angles with your ankles, knees, and hips, and then having a tall upper body.
Mm-hmm. Like straight up
letting
and
yourself
down.
Yeah, like your spine should be vertical, straight up and down. Mm-hmm. And then letting yourself look over your shoulder, not trying to create too much angle with your hips, like let yourself be a snowboarder and stand sideways. And if you watch the really good guys, that's their ability to go forward and switch with they have these solid fundamentals. They're able to carve turns everywhere they go. They're never sliding. You watch Ben Ferguson shred the pipe, and he's just like
on edge.
It looks so smooth and effortless, and he's on the correct edge all the time. Well, most of the time, and he is, going very fast. Just the ability to. If you have good fundamentals, you can go as fast as you want.
Okay, so edging, positioning, what are the other ones, the other basic fundamentals that you should try to have dialed, up to 10?
I would say then, the ability to ride switch with proficiency, like really well, because you're going to be landing backwards at some point, and it just gives you a lot more confidence, especially if you're learning rotations and you're going for like a 1080, let's say, or even a 7. If you're not going to make it, you better be able to land a 5.
Right. Right.
That's super important.
So would you say the best way to do that, to get that switch proficiency is, what I did anyway, and you could tell me if I was wrong, but I would basically just commit in my head at the top of a run, like I'm riding top to bottom on this run switch. So no matter what I do, I'm going top to bottom switch, right? That's how I learned how to do it. What are there any other ways that you can really become proficient being going switch?
No, that's the classic way. Just like doing everything switch, getting on the lift switch, getting off the lift switch, riding the whole run switch, trying to go through the park switch, the half pipe switch, try to ride POW switch. That's a good one. That's hard for people, especially at a resort where it's like hurry up and get the POW before it's gone, to like, hey, I'm gonna actually ride this whole run through the POW switch. That teaches you a great balance lesson about getting on your back foot and where your weight should be. So, and I guess part of the body position thing we didn't talk about is it's real easy to get forward over your front foot on your snowboard. That engages the edge either way you're leaning. And so learning to trust yourself to kind of stand up a little more on your back foot, a little more, bending that back leg a little more than the front leg. And
so where's your weight balanced? Are you 50-50, would you say, or depending on where you are in your turn, you're shifting your weight around all the time, adjusting all the time your body position?
Classic would be 60-40. But to initiate a turn, you want to get centered, and if not a little forward. But when you're coming in the middle of the turn and out of the turn, you're definitely on your back foot. Okay.
Cool.
And that's creating the carve. And the other basic fundamentals would be some form, especially if we're talking about tricks, is air awareness. Even for rail tricks, can you do can you huck yourself off a diving board with control? Can you bounce off of a trampoline with, can you bounce on a trampoline and do flips and spins? Just some very basic air skills. If you're trying to learn a trick on a snowboard and you've never hucked yourself off a diving board or off a trampoline or off of a swing set or anything that puts you in the air off of a cliff into a lake, you're probably going to have a harder time. So,
catch air.
Snowboard,
catch air frequently.
Catch air on everything.
Okay, that's cool. So those are the basic fundamentals, right? The balance, the switch ability, the air awareness.
Yeah, the edging.
And
edging is super important. Being able to actually turn your snowboard properly.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
And
then I would.
Okay, keep going.
Yep. No, you ask your question.
I'm learning here, so I'm taking notes, right? But okay, so those are kind of the fundamentals. Now, like, how about let's say you're approaching a new trick, like, do you visualize it? How do you talk to people about it and ask them how they do it? How would you approach going to learn a new trick? If there's something you want to learn and you don't know how to do it, how do you approach that?
Well, I would say that you should have a very good idea in your head of what you want that trick to look like. And usually it's become an inspiration from somebody else. Maybe it's not even from snowboarding. It could be from the way somebody did something on a skateboard or the way a surfer did something on a surfboard. But you have to have an idea of what the trick is that you want to do in your head. And it shouldn't be just an idea. It should be like, this is what it's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is what it's going to feel like. I feel like it's going to come around like this, or I feel like this grab is going to make this feel so cool, you know, and that is the essence of learning a new trick. You can't just like think, oh, I want to do that trick. You have to see it in your head to the point that you can feel yourself doing it.
So
and it might be like,
go ahead.
Rolling around on the ground, even like in a breakdance sort of thing. Like it'll roll around like this, or like I've seen all sorts of crazy stuff like that really works.
Mm-hmm.
But it's taking an idea, and it's usually something, you know. If let's take Shaun White's frontside 540 stale fish.
Ooh, I love that.
Let's say for
Teach
him,
me that.
like,
Teach it to me.
well, it's more like maybe you are new to snowboarding and you just saw that for the first time and you're like, I want to do that 540 stale like Shaun, and like you have a great resource of him doing it hundreds of times, and you can watch videos of it, and you can, you know, really study it. And like that's what for me, we didn't have like the video capabilities that we have now, but I would just have to like watch people from the side of the pipe and really analyze what they were doing when I was a rider trying to learn tricks. And like,
mm-hmm.
and then, you know, my friends that were better than me, I would talk to them about like, how do you do that? Like, what do you think about? And like, you know, it's usually you'll find when someone's really good at a trick and they like doing it and they make it look really cool, there's something usually profound that they think about that you've never even considered.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's crazy to hear, you know, people's descriptions of, you know, what they actually think about when they do that trick. Like,
right. So the first stage though is like analysis. Basically, you're analyzing it, kind of taking it all in, trying to see it from all sides.
Yeah. Trying to see it from all sides, and then take that vision of your analysis and incorporate it to the point that you can close your eyes and you can feel yourself doing it.
Mm-hmm. So,
visualizing.
So how much time are you spending in this analysis phase and then the visualization stage before you actually go and huck your meat?
Well, if you're like me, I was 24 hours a day. I would, like, if I had a trick that I wanted to do and I was in a place where I was trying to step up and do it, it would be all encompassing. Like, I would just obsess on how I wanted it to feel and how it would look, and you know, I would think about it all the time. I mean, it was, and for me, the tricks are not just like cool things that you do, but it's like a full-on game for yourself of like, I'm gonna change who I am by doing this thing that I haven't done before, and I'm gonna do it the way that I envision it happening, or try to anyway. And so you're literally making yourself, you know, you're trying to make yourself a better person. Essentially is what I felt like. Like, I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna feel this out, and I'm gonna take this vision and feeling I have and turn it into an actual thing that I can do and will do all the time.
Mm-hmm. So when you're learning new tricks, I mean, can you multitask new tricks, or is it better just to be laser focused on one new trick and then the next new trick, or can you try this one, then this one, then this one at the same time?
Well, that goes back to everyone's different. You know, you have people that are and it also depends on the tricks that you're trying to learn. I think in the beginning stages, it's better to multitask.
Mm-hmm.
And try to, I mean, if you obsess over one trick, that might be really difficult for you. Then you're not, if you're trying it and it's not working out, and it's not that close, you're doing yourself a disservice by keep trying it. You know, sometimes you have to take a step back
mm-hmm.
to move forward. And so, and obsessing over the same thing is not really what we as snowboarders do great. I mean, it goes against the whole play with the whole mountain idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're obsessing over one trick, you might just ride straight down the run to the jump or the half pipe, and you know, get out of your own head is also important. But like, I think before, like when you're not on the hill, is more what I was referring to, like thinking about the trick that you want to do, so that when you get up there, you can set yourself up to not have to think so much and just be able to be in the moment and know that you've mapped out in your mind how it's going to go, and trust yourself to do it.
So what part of it is like this repetition or conditioning versus actually visualizing? Because you just said, you know, you have to basically clear your mind almost to do a trick, and it's like, well, how can you clear your mind if that's all you're thinking about? You know.
Well, that's the greatest challenge of any athlete, is because if you're, you know, like dwelling on the trick as you're like doing a half pipe run or something, for example, like unless you're doing it first hit, like you can't, you know, if you're thinking about the one trick and only that, like you can't, you have to just assess what you want to do before you drop in, and then when you drop in, you know, take a deep breath and try not to think about the whole thing. Obviously, you need to think about, you know, one thing that'll help you do the trick the way you want to do it.
So is it like you're turning a key? Like basically you're like, okay, I got to put my hand back here to wind up for this or something like that, and that kind of turns the key on the trick, like starting an engine.
Yeah,
okay.
It could be like I'm taking a breath when I land this trick. I'm waiting to wind up, and then I'm just going.
Right.
And I'm going to trust myself to go through the motions that I've mapped out in my head to get that trick. And now, you know, with a lot of these situations now, we have all these airbags and all these features that make learning tricks easy, but I'm talking more about the traditional way of learning tricks where you don't have airbags or things of, you know, where you actually have to just step up and do the skill. So that's definitely, and everyone's different. You know, some people have to like pick one thing and focus on it, but other people, you know, they might show up and be inspired by something else they did in that day and be like, oh, I think I could do this like this, and they learn a new trick. You know, that's just people's different learning styles. But I was more someone who had to like, okay, I want to learn how to do that. I have to, you know, really analyze it. And it seems like more people are that way to get the bigger and the harder tricks.
So let's say that there's an athlete on the U.S. team and you're their coach as the head coach. What kind of advice do you give them when they're having like a roadblock? They really want to learn a new trick. They almost need this new trick to be at that top level still. What do you tell them at the top of the pipe before they drop in? Like, what kind of advice are you giving them?
Well, if it's a new thing that they haven't ever actually tried before, you know, they better have done the homework on the, you know, because none of these tricks are just one thing. It's all a combination of things, really. So having the foundation of, like, you know, if you're going to do your first front double, granted, like, everyone on our team has those, and they can do them with their eyes closed pretty much now. But like if you're learning that for the first time, you better have a really good cork 7, and you better know which grab is the best one that helps you come around to your toes, and and then from there it's just having the extreme desire to want to do it and the courage to commit to doing something you haven't done but you've mapped out in your mind, and trusting that process.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've done the homework,
put together the building blocks as well. You don't do a 9 before you do a 7.
No, you don't. Yeah, it's taking your time to go through the steps of learning the progression. It's all a progression. I mean, some people, I'm sure there's a few random people out there that could go out and, they might have a limited amount of fear and be able to try things without mastering the step below, but those people tend to be the ones that don't have long careers in the sport and tend to get hurt
right
more. And so, I mean, my good buddy Michael Chuck, from when I was competing.
What an incredible athlete, man. Wow.
What an incredible snowboarder.
Yeah.
Incredible athlete.
Yeah.
Incredible dude.
Yeah.
Again, amazing human.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't know when to stop. Like, he would just charge full throttle. And that's, one way to learn a trick. But he slammed a lot more than most people could ever handle. And he is a tough cookie. So he was able to get up and keep going. But, he ultimately, his career was shortened by, injuries. Some of them snowboarding related, some not, because he's just a crazy man. But, I mean, taking the time to go through the steps to learn these big doubles and probably triples coming up, who knows, in half pipe, it's all about having the fundamentals, and then the fundamentals for the bigger tricks are the tricks below them. So having a good cork 7 before you go for a front double 10, all that stuff.
Right.
So when I'm at the top of the pipe and someone's going to try something that they haven't ever done before, it's, have you done the work, and that's usually all these conversations usually happen the night before, watching video or something, and how are you going to go about it tomorrow, so that when we're up on the hill, it's just like, I'm not really even, are you doing this? Have you done this? Was that good enough? Maybe you should do another front 10 before you try that 12. Really think about, this. Where's your head? Are you pulling on the grab? Are you seeing anything? Like, what are you seeing in the trick? That's another huge thing. Like, what are you spotting? Like, these guys aren't just, like, hucking themselves and not knowing where they are. They're, like, aware exactly where they are in the air. And, like, what are you going to see in the middle of that 14? Oh, Sean's going to see the sky. And that's his cue to wrap it around, That's the, you take what you can do, and adding that next step is faith in the work that you've done to get to do that. The let's say you're going 12 if you've done a 10 for years. I've done these 10s. I land on my toes. Everything's really good. I'm gonna go for the 12. It's having faith in your ability to take it to the next step and have it mapped out in your mind what that's going to look like to take it to the next step. And then when those two come together, that's when the trick happens. And then getting athletes in the right frame of mind at the top of the half pipe, it's different with every person. Some people need a lot of encouragement. Some people need not a whole lot, So it's different with every person.
Right. So how do you, as a coach, strike that balance between pushing these guys to progress and also, and having them get injured by pushing that progression? Like, how do you, as a coach, do you get them in that right mindset to, like, not just, like, get hurt? right? Because honestly, it's like these guys are flying 15 feet out of the pipe every single hit every day, and it's like on any one of those, they could be a career-ending fall, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, you spoke a little bit in our previous interview about, you know, the success of our team and podiums and stuff, but for me, the biggest success of our team is we've had very few, and I'm knocking on wood right now, injuries over the last several years. I mean, very few head injuries, very few bone breakages. My main thing is making sure these guys are learning these tricks in a safe and fun, productive way. I mean, they can't be out there, you know, all these new tricks are terrifying, especially with the good guys, the top level guys and girls are trying to do. They are terrifying tricks.
Yeah.
But how can we break it down and make it so it's not so scary and more of a fun, rewarding task of, I did it. And these guys are so obsessed with snowboarding, guys and girls are so obsessed with snowboarding that, you know, they really want to learn that next trick. They really want to, you know, challenge themselves deeply. And that's, you know, how can we challenge yourself to the right level without risking injury? That's the hardest part with being a coach, is like, someone might have an idea of something they want to do, and, you know, I've never said, no, you can't do that. Like, that's crazy. You know, it's like, okay, well, you want to do that. Well, what do we have to do first to get there? Like, how is it going to happen? How are we going to land this first try? I mean,
is that the goal? You want to land it first try, or the ability? You're not going to try it until you're really confident that you can actually land it. You don't just huck and be like, oh, that felt weird. You want to actually know that you can land it.
No, you want to know deep down, and you want to see it you can see it in their eyes that, like, oh yeah, they got this. You know, like, the work is done. Now it's time to just step up and actually try the skill. And that alone can take days to get past that point of, okay, you're right there, you're ready whenever you are, but how are we going to get over that fear factor? And, you know, like, then you have to pull out all kinds of tricks of, you know, what do we do to get past that limiting fear factor, because that's ultimately what holds everyone back from doing 1440s. I mean, if we all just went out there and hucked, eventually someone would land one, you know. If we had 4 guys and say, like, held a gun to their head and said, you have to land a 1440 today, you have to at least try one, you know, like, 1 or 2 might land one, kind of, or in a sketchy manner, be able to get one around, but 2 or 3 might end their season with a horrible injury. So it's a fine line of knowing, you know, if they're really ready and them feeling like they're really ready. So sometimes the pressure of contest makes an athlete feel like, I'm ready for it, when actually they're not. And, you know, so trying to hold people back sometimes is as important as pushing them forward.
Interesting. I never looked at it that way. Okay, so any last advice for people who want to go out and learn some new tricks, or just push their riding 1 or 2 steps forward every time they go? What kind of mindset do you need? What advice do you have?
Well, I would say that if you're really passionate about the sport, and you really want to try a trick, and you go up there and you don't do it that day, just analyze how you feel that night when you're at home. Like, you'll probably be pretty frustrated with yourself, probably be pretty bummed. And sometimes that frustration and pain is way worse than any slam you would have taken on the trick. I mean, most of the injuries that I've seen over the years have not been on people trying that next hardest trick. They've been on people are, you know, screwing around, like, you know, playing around, doing, you know, something weird or something different, like, which is fun and important to do, but, like, when you're just kind of not really 100% focused on what you're doing. If you have your mind set on something you want to do, you have to think about, will it hurt more to fall, maybe catch an edge, or slip out and hit my butt? Will that hurt more, or will it hurt more to go home knowing that I didn't step up and do something I'm pretty sure I could have done? And then just trusting yourself to get out of your comfort zone. That's where it is. Find the area where you're comfortable, and then take that small step beyond, and that's where that's where your progression is going to lie.
Thank you, Ricky Bauer, head coach of the U.S. half-pipe team. Wow, I have learned a lot. Thank you so much.
All right. Cool, no problem.
On behalf of Mark Sullivan and the Beeve, thanks for listening to the Snowboard Project. Remember, ride fast, take chances, dream big, and take action. And for God's sake, don't be a pussy. Don't forget to support advertising-free snowboarding media at patreon.com. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project.